So when I first began working with abstraction, one of the most uncomfortable repercussions of the change was that I found it difficult in the beginning to understand how to talk about what I had done. And I went to Germany for a residency, and I changed my whole schedule. I'm normally working during the daytime and coming home at night and watching movies or doing something that's not art making. But when I went to Germany, I decided that I wanted to walk in the forest, and I'm very interested in mycology, and so I wanted to look for mushrooms. And so I began my day with a meditation and then set out into the forest and spent every day a couple of hours like wandering through the forest looking for new specimens. And while I was walking through the forest and through this kind of process, I realized that so much of the language of abstraction includes nature, and that it made me realize that maybe not only does it feel not only do you feel completed as a living being when you're in nature, I mean like the forest, not all of the world is nature, including technology, but when you're actually isolated in nature, you feel it. It's harmonious, and you feel that you may perhaps even understand nature without knowing you understand it. And that was my experience of spending 3 to 4 hours every day walking in the forest, was that I recognized the sounds, the rhythm, the color, the balance of decomposition and growth like happening at the same time. And I realized that before I turned towards abstraction, my work was also about reproduction and death and sex and violence. But I experienced it more through the story of humankind and their narratives, so more overtly political or more overtly having to do with man-made objects like food, clothing, furniture, architecture. I used to represent these kinds of things. And then when I went to Germany, I had already begun to turn towards abstraction, but it wasn't until I went there that I really had a better feeling on how to embrace nature as a kind of way to understand abstraction. And so my theory, which is maybe it's not even my theory, but an idea that I have is that through all the different stages of evolution, from way back, prehistoric, before maybe we became human beings, when we were when we evolved from singular cells, maybe through each one of those evolutions, we held on to the memory of our experience of what the world is. And so for artists, I often think that we carry that language forward without knowing what it is. So for me, when I associate with the works, and I'm researching what a title will be or the feeling of a work, and I open up a Wikipedia page about cellular division or different forms of reproduction, like I see the images that I drew without knowing what those images were. And so, I think what's important for me is to look at a sculpture like this and to participate with what I'm seeing. And so in a sculpture like this, it's about energy going down. It has to do, to me, with the earth. It has to do with what's underneath the earth, what's underneath the ocean. And these are themes that artists have always used to parallel the unknown. So what's in your subconscious? These are the same metaphors that people have all used cross-cultural to explain how do I know what's inside of me and why is it inside there. And so that a lot of times those metaphors have to do with underneath earth, or they have, like, maybe this is the mouth of a whale and these are the hairs that can collect the plankton, or maybe it really is just a crevice in the earth. But to me, I've noticed that a lot of the imagery that when it's first created in a drawing that seems not understandable can be investigated through the lens of nature.